The first question is just to introduce yourself and your role at your publishing company.
So my name is Naseem Hrab, and I'm the Associate Publisher Creative at Kids Can Press. Kids Can Press is Canada's largest children's publisher, and we're known for characters like Franklin the Turtle and the girl from The Most Magnificent Thing.
Could you please describe your role in detail for us?
My role at Kids Can Press as Associate Publisher Creative is to work with the editorial and design departments on making our books. So to be honest, I get the really, really fun part of working in children's publishing, which is, the hands-on at the groundwork of deciding what types of books we publish, who our audience is, and essentially what we want our books to be. I get to work also with our publisher as well as our other associate publisher in terms of the vision of the list and what we want to do.
Now, if you could please walk us through a typical day at work and then maybe a not so typical day.
So a typical day at work at a children's publishing company is doing a lot of things. For me in particular, it could be looking at a manuscript that's been sent to me by one of our editors. It could be looking at rough art, as well as looking at cover copy and covers. So all sorts of things like that. A not so typical day working for a children's book publisher could be something really exciting, like getting to celebrate an award, or getting to watch a author or illustrator do a presentation at a school. You get to see all of the kids enjoying all of the books, running around, and as everyone always says, treating the authors and illustrators like they're rock stars, because they are. And that to me is the reminder of why we do everything that we do.
The next question is just, what is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job is getting to work with the people that I get to work with. I adore my coworkers so much. I get to work with some of the most intelligent, funny, passionate individuals in the world. And my other favorite part of my job is that I get to make books. I can't believe it. As a kid who loved to read, I literally cannot understand that every day I wake up and I get to make books.
So the question is, what would someone outside of the industry be surprised to learn about your role?
I think what someone outside of the industry would be surprised to learn about my role is that I'm not just sitting here reading manuscripts. Often people might think that, we get to sit, on the couch with a bunch of pages and just reading books. And I really wish that was the reality. But it's mostly meetings, desk, emails, rinse and repeat.
Could you please tell us about an unforgettable moment you experienced as part of your job?
I'm going to share a little story with you that I just realized is actually super important, I think. When I was in grade 4, I wrote a letter to Robert Munsch. I did a school assignment where I wrote a biography of Robert Munsch. And let's be honest, at that age, I probably plagiarized a lot of it from some other book about Robert Munsch. But I put it all together in a package and I sent it to Robert Munsch. And months later, I got a response from him where he wrote to me and he said, thank you so much, Naseem, for sending me your work. It's better than all of the things that adults write about me. So that, I think, is a pivotal moment in my life. That I just, it just is so funny that I could get to work in this field and make children's books. And who knows, maybe Robert Munsch had something to do with it. I don't know.
Could you please tell us what got you interested in pursuing publishing as a career, and also your background that led to the position you have today?
In terms of my career path and how I came to publishing, I actually always wanted to be a writer. And what's interesting is that I've actually asked most of my colleagues if they also want to write, and usually they don't. They just love to read, which I've always thought was super fascinating. But when I was doing my English degree, I was really interested in writing children's books. And I went to a Canscape Packaging Your Imagination meeting. So Canscape is a society for authors and illustrators and performers in Canada for children. And I happened to sit next to a librarian who I am still friends with today, Tara Stadius, who works at the Toronto Public Library. And when Tara talked to me about that, I thought, okay, I think I need to pursue this. So I ended up getting into library school to do a master's in information studies. And while I was there, I took a children's literature class. And in that class, I got to do an internship at the Canadian Children's Book Centre. Then it turned out that the librarian there, Brenda Halliday, was leaving. So I applied for that role and got it. While I worked at the Canadian Children's Book Centre, and I made all these different contacts, it turned out that Kids Can had an opening for a marketing manager. And Karen Boersma, who is now at Owl Kids, had known me from my work at the book center and wondered if I would be interested in applying for the marketing manager role. I had never done any marketing before, but Karen had the foresight to realize that someone who was a librarian may be good at marketing books to librarians. It's interesting how none of my career path has been predictable at all. And it feels kind of weird to say I didn't set out to do any of this, but it's true.
Why do you think independent Canadian publishing is important?
I think what makes independent publishing special is the people who are a part of it. Everyone who I've met in children's publishing is so passionate, so engaged, and so collaborative. It is so incredible that we talk to each other, that we realize we're all in this industry together, that it is cooperative, fun, and just, I think, like family. There might be disagreements or different opinions, or all sorts of things like that, but fundamentally, there is an unprecedented cooperation within our industry. And I think what's so amazing about the ACP is that it sets the tone for that.
The next question is, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start working in publishing?
I think the advice that I would give to someone who wants to work in publishing is that there's not one route. I think that there's all sorts of ways to get into publishing, and many people think that there's the one path. Another thing I would add is don't be set on one career in publishing, because I think that people always want to be editors, and why not? It's a super cool role. But I didn't start out working in editorial, but now I've ended up working with editorial. I think the advice I would give is to be open to all the possibilities and learn about all the different roles that a publishing house has.